You're listening to the Warrior Rulebook Podcast, episode 10, and today's topic is, who is your pulse partner? Now, you probably just did a double take or you have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the person that is guaranteed to check on you. Before we get started, I wanted to take this time to acknowledge our reviewers. The first one is from Estherina. She says, definitely worth listening to. While driving or just relaxing, listening to these bubbly, positive, and encouraging podcasts can get you thinking about yourself and what steps you're doing to take care of you. I'm looking forward to listening to whatever else is posted because the content is very relatable. Wow, Estherina, thank you so much. That's just amazing that somebody is listening to me in their car. Like, that's so cool. Okay, the next one says, very relevant and relatable. The first episode definitely hit home and it is very relevant. Being a recent graduate, I can relate to that post-grad depression. Great advice about how instead of just staying in a dark space because of depression, do something that scares you, but is something that's positive and will help you succeed. Thank you, Naladelphia. All right, here goes the third review. The itch I can't get rid of. This is from Solo Butterfly. I've never listened to a podcast about allowing my supportive side to step out. I did so with the Warrior Rulebook. Before I get started, I must say, after one listen to an episode, the itch I can't get rid of has me hooked. Can you believe you convinced me to start one? I'm actually considering it. The genuine spirit within you was so encouraging. Your truth and passion to have a drive to help people is a beautiful thing. Just from one episode, I found you to be many things. You're very honest about where you are in life, where you would like to be, hinders if you have any, your passion, your dedication, and most of all, your commitment. I have to quote some lines from the podcast. It was too good not to. Quote, you pay a price for wanting to do better, end quote. And you do. You lose sleep. You miss out on things going on in the outside world, but you gain a better version of yourself. When you mentioned how you have to start from zero sometimes and keep growing, sis, I've felt that. I can put the statement into relation to my life. Sometimes you have to start from the bottom. So many times we start at things halfway or even when it's completely finished, but we left so many valuables at the bottom. There is no harm in starting at zero again. Starting over adds value to what you're working on. I don't want to get caught up in one area. I want to move around with this. When I first turned the podcast on, I was just going to listen, but I just had an urge to take notes, and I'm happy that I did. You say you never saw yourself doing a podcast, but you have owned this. From you being in school to doing things for the church and other projects and activities that you are working on has led me to see and believe that your talent has depth. You have shown me by watching you over the years that it is important to not get content where you are. Expand your horizon. I can hear the excitement while you speak. Not only are you expressing your passion, I can tell this is a lot of fun for you. You had me brainstorming ideas while listening to you, but I had to quickly snap out of it because I was afraid I might miss something. You are very relatable. You spoke on how even though you have a business or a project or whatever your baby is, when you have a passion to serve people, it's not about you anymore. You created something to service someone to help them reach their goal. It's a win-win when you reach your potential, making yourself happy as well as others. People need to know that they have the love and support, and you did that, and more so effortless. You go, Mo. Wow. Thank you, Solo Butterfly, for that. Yeah, I definitely do try to encourage people in the best way that I can and, just try not to give them loose promises or loose pieces of motivation. I want them to be able to take actionable steps in order to make their lives better, because it's better to see your life or see you reaching your goals when you have an actionable plan. You know what you have to do in order to excel. So yeah, that is my hope for this podcast, and thank you guys for listening. Okay, so right now we're going to jump into who is your pulse partner. Stay tuned. You're listening to the Warrior Rulebook Podcast with me, Monique Harmon. I love helping people express themselves, protect their peace, and be confident in being them. You may also know me as Pretty Nikki, who started her online journey as a modest fashion blogger. Now I'm an entrepreneur. You'll see through my experiences and the experiences of others that change is possible, improvement is tasty, and meaningful connection is transformational. Come on, share your story with me. The stories and information presented in my podcast is not intended to take the place of medical advice from a healthcare professional. So any exercise, diet, health-related, mental health matters vary from person to person. So nothing in the podcast will be construed or used as a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Any action taken based on the contents of this podcast or the resources is solely at your own discretion, risk, and liability. So this podcast is simply here to be encouraging, but you should definitely seek a healthcare professional for additional help. Now let's get on to the show. Who is the person that you run to for advice? Who is the person that you know will always listen to you without any judgments, but will help you if they feel like you're missing the point? This may be your significant other, best friend, or your sibling. When was the last time you checked in on them? Kudos to you if you did today, but sometimes we drown in our own problems and forget to check on that person. We think they're invincible and like they always have everything together when that can't be further from the truth. The thought often crosses my mind. I wonder, who do they ever go to when they have problems and issues? And I think that's where that motivational quote that we see on social media all the time, check on your strong friends, because they may be going through certain things that you have no idea about. We think just because they make us laugh, 24/7, or they just always seem to have everything together and nothing phases them, but we forget that they're still human and that they still go through things. So it's very important to check in on them. Me and one of my friends recently started this thing where we check in on each other almost daily. And so we ask each other what was our natural high for the day, and then we ask what was our spiritual high for the day. And then we go into what improvements can be made for the next day. And this is a great idea. This is a great thing that we started because it allows us to hold each other more accountable for our actions and what goals we are trying to accomplish. Because, if you don't really talk about your goals with someone that you trust, someone that you know is going to be constructive and supportive, you may give yourself a free pass. So, you'd be like, oh, I'll work on that later today, or I'll work on that tomorrow, or I'll work on that next week. And so you're just delaying yourself in a way, because you could have had so much stuff accomplished by then, but by not speaking it into existence, or at least writing it down, you're preventing yourself from attaining that success. And I'm speaking from personal experience. Like, I know once I started writing more things down and, actually sharing my goals with people, I was able to hold myself accountable, because like they're waiting on you, to produce things, and they're waiting on you to have your ideas and stuff come to fruition. So even though you're doing it more so for yourself, it's great to also be able to do it for other people too, and to help them. So yes, those are just my thoughts on what is a pulse partner. And that's where I came up with the term from, because I feel as though as people that are constantly checking in on you and, seeing where you are in your journey to attain success and freedom, they're checking for a pulse. Like, they're checking to see if there's any life in what you're doing. They're checking to see how your progress is going, and where there's life, there's hope. And so that is why you want to definitely check in on those people as well, because they also have goals and dreams. So thank you guys for listening to the Warrior Rulebook podcast today, and I'll see you in a future episode. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Warrior Rulebook podcast. If you like what you heard, share it with a friend, and join me over at the Warrior Rulebook Podcast Insider Group on Facebook. And don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for more tips on how to be resilient in this world.